Welcome back, fellow shop rats. It's another Talk About It Tuesday, and we're going to talk about yet again another subject of what I consider to be insanity in the automotive world. Stick around. I'm Mike.
This is My Cars Shop.
Okay, I admit insanity is probably too strong of a word. But it goes back to something I mentioned the other day about a guy in one of the antique forums who said that's a really cool car for $10,000. I'd love to buy it for 10 grand, invest another 50,000 into it, and end up with a $20,000 car. And he was serious. He wasn't kidding. He said that's what he enjoys doing, and he doesn't mind spending the money. He feels it's money well spent, better than going out to eat every weekend, going to the movies, and going to a bar. And I get that. So it's not insane if you look at it from that perspective. On the other hand, if you look at it from a business perspective, from a financial perspective, which is the way I tend to look at things, that's pretty crazy. And that's where I talk about the insanity of it. Now, I don't mean to beat a dead horse, and I want you guys to know that it's not like I'm obsessed about this, and it's not like I'm going around feeling sorry for myself or anything else. It's just that these are Talk About It Tuesdays, and so they're discussion topics. I couldn't give two turds about what somebody thinks or what somebody says about anything I do. I love what I do. Okay? So, but if I didn't talk about these things, we wouldn't have Talk About It Tuesdays, and I think they're good discussion points to just get people thinking about things and looking at things differently. So hence, that's why I talk about these subjects. So I had a guy that came in a little while ago and was like getting all over me about, I have no idea why in the world you just don't go buy the parts for that car, blah, 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 blah. You've heard it all before. I know that. But this was what kind of struck me a little bit about it this time, was just thinking about, we've got, $3,000 into the Stitches Challenger right now. And we would have probably upwards of $17,000 into it if we went out and just bought everything. But I started doing the math in my head about what that car is going to be worth when it's done. And would it be worth much more if I went out and bought everything? Yeah, a little. Does that cost offset the savings by hand fabricating? Take out the joy factor, take out the fun factor, take out the fact that I love the challenge and that I think every minute I spend working on it is worth my time because I just like doing it. I like doing it the way that I'm doing it. Like Frank Sinatra, I did it my way, right? So there's that. But again, from a financial standpoint, does it make a huge difference in the resale value of the car? Does it make a difference? Yeah, it makes a difference, definitely. Does it make a huge difference? And I don't think so. I mean, realistically, I think Stitches is going to be worth somewhere around, I don't know, 30. That may be a little optimistic. $35,000 when it's done. 30, 25. Put it in that number somewhere. I'm not going to have anywhere near that amount into it, except for my time, of course. But how much would it be worth had I put all new metal on it, put a new roof on it, bought all the floor pans, bought all the frame rails? I don't think it'd be worth a whole lot more than that. Yeah, it's going to be a 440, 4-speed. It was originally a 318 car. Maybe another $5,000 or $10,000, maybe.
Probably not.
Is it worth dumping $50,000, $60,000 into something that you're going to end up with that's worth 30 or 40 grand? Doesn't make sense to me. Plus the time, again, I know the time. I was just commenting on my buddy Glassglows. If you haven't seen him on YouTube, check him out. He's doing a 74 Challenger, and he's doing all the metal, and I love what he's doing, don't get me wrong. No criticisms at all, and I completely understand what he's doing and why he's doing it. Totally support, totally love the project. Think he's doing a great job. So again, if somebody chooses to do their car that way, I'm not criticizing that. I'm looking at it from my perspective. If I'm looking at something from the perspective of I'm going to keep it forever anyway, and I don't care what I have into it because the car is sentimental to me, or I just like the car and I've always wanted one, or that's fine, okay? So just hear me out on that. Is just because I'm talking about this doesn't mean I'm dissing what somebody else is doing.
I'm not peeing in somebody else's Cheerios.
This is a me thing. This is the way I look at it, and that's part of what this channel is about, is just sharing my own thoughts and how I view things. And y'all can point and laugh. It's okay. I promise. I don't care. But from that perspective, watching him put all those new parts in, he just put the 4-speed hump in and did some fabricating to fix a couple other spots on the episode that aired just a couple days ago. And I commented to him on his channel, and I said, it's amazing to me how fast it goes when you're using new parts and you're not making everything. I mean, that is true. And for some people, the time is the money. I get it, and they would rather just buy the stuff and put it in and get it done and move on. Nothing wrong with that. That's a large part what we're going to do with the Foresight. So, hear me out on that. Here's my point in this video. I know a lot of this is me beating the dead horse of subjects I've talked about before. Have you put pencil to paper, or pen to paper, or fingers to keyboards, or whatever it is you do, and just looked at it from a cost perspective? If I use top-of-the-line parts, here's what it's going to cost. If I use replacement parts from a company like Sherman that are real cheap stuff, here's what it's going to cost. If I use hand-fabricated stuff, here's what it's going to cost. And just pencil that out and say, okay, it makes sense for me I'm going to buy AMD quarter panels because I want the outside of the car to look really good. And I'm going to buy Sherman floor pans because I don't care if the floor pans are perfect because they're just floor pans. And I'm going to fabricate this, that, and the other thing. I think planning a project like that makes a lot of sense, and you can save yourself a ton of money by choosing what way you're going to do the project and looking at it right up front. I mean, let's face it, when you get into this stuff, you're going to find stuff that you didn't know needed to be done anyway, and that's going to cost you more than you expected. And, well, that's just the nature of the beast. But I think thinking it through and saying, I don't really need to buy a whole wheel well just because there's a spot in there about this big that I could knock out real quick, make a patch, cut and butt that in there, and nobody's going to know it. Or there's a spot in my floor pan. The floor is great, but there's a spot this big, and I'm just going to go ahead and make that part, learn how to fabricate something like that, and throw it in the car because it's a floor pan. And if it's not totally perfect, so what? And my fender's got a little rust hole down in the bottom. I don't see any point in buying a huge patch panel for that, or even buying a new fender, because I don't mind just cutting it out and putting a patch pan in. And, well, you see what I'm saying? And that's my whole point. I think it behooves us to look at the end product, to look at the context of what the car is. We've said that a billion times. Is it a slant six car? Is it a Hemi car? And to just look at how we want to do it, what kind of time we want to spend at it, what kind of resources we want to throw at it. And at the bottom line is, how much ultimately do we want to have invested in this thing, and what's the return going to be on that based upon the current economy? We don't know what's going to happen in 2 years, 2 weeks, 2 months, or 3 decades, but it's worth considering. That's the point of today's Talk About It Tuesday. Look at the big picture, make informed decisions, choose the path that's right for you, and charge onward and upward, because that charge, don't use your charge card, that's not what I'm saying, but that's what makes sense on your project. And that's the point here at My Car Shop, and that's the point of Talk About It Tuesdays. All right, I'm rambling on. I'm going to shut up now. Thanks for watching. We will catch you on the next one. Rock!